There is a strange psychological pattern that happens in many people's lives, but most of them never notice it while it's happening. Before someone tries to manipulate you, control you, or influence your decisions, they often do something very specific first. They watch you. They observe your reactions. They pay attention to the things that make you uncomfortable, emotional, insecure, or defensive. And the interesting part is that this observation rarely looks suspicious. It can happen in completely normal conversations. Someone might casually ask you about your past experiences. Someone might bring up topics that trigger emotional reactions. Someone might tell a joke and carefully watch how you respond. On the surface, it all looks like ordinary interaction. But in reality, something deeper may be happening. Some people are quietly studying your weaknesses, not because they care about understanding you better, but because knowing someone's weaknesses gives them influence. Once someone understands what makes you emotional, insecure, or defensive, they can use that information to guide conversation, shape decisions, and sometimes even control situations without you realizing it. And this is exactly why understanding this pattern is so important. Human beings constantly observe each other. It is a natural part of social interaction. When we talk to someone, our brain automatically notices facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, and emotional reactions. Most of the time, this observation is harmless. People do it simply to understand each other better. But in some situations, observation becomes strategic. Certain personalities, especially manipulative or narcissistic individuals, pay extremely close attention to emotional reactions because those reactions reveal valuable information. Think about it this way. If someone knows what makes you angry, they know how to provoke you. If someone knows what makes you insecure, they know how to weaken your confidence. If someone knows what you fear losing, they know how to pressure your decisions. Weakness is not always something obvious like fear or insecurity. Sometimes weakness is simply emotional sensitivity to certain topics. And the moment someone identifies that sensitivity, they gain psychological leverage. Imagine a workplace conversation during lunch. A colleague casually asks you about your career goals. You share that you're worried about job security or promotions. The conversation seems friendly, but now that person knows something important about you. They know that career stability is something that deeply concerns you. Later, during a disagreement or negotiation, they might casually mention how risky certain decisions could be for your position. The moment they bring up that topic, they know it will affect your thinking because they already observed your concern earlier. They studied your reaction. Now imagine a relationship scenario. During a conversation, someone asks about past relationships or personal experiences. You open up about something that hurt you in the past. Maybe you explain that betrayal or dishonesty affected you deeply. At that moment, the other person learns something important. They learn what kind of emotional situation triggers strong reactions from you. Later, during arguments or disagreements, they may bring up similar emotional triggers. Not necessarily in an obvious way, but in subtle comments that bring those feelings back, because they already know how you react. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever had a conversation where someone asked questions that seemed normal, but later you realized they used that information during disagreements? It's a very common pattern. Many people don't notice it because it happens slowly over time. But the moment you start paying attention to these patterns, you begin seeing conversations differently. You begin noticing who is genuinely trying to understand you and who might be quietly studying you. If this topic is making you think about situations you've experienced in your own life, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This channel focuses on understanding the hidden psychology behind manipulation, human behavior, and social dynamics. And if there is a specific psychology topic you would like to see next, write it in the comments so we can explore it in future videos. One of the most common ways people study weaknesses is by testing reactions. They bring up different topics during conversations and watch carefully. If they mention something that makes you defensive, they notice it. If they mention something that makes you uncomfortable, they remember it. If they say something critical and you immediately try to defend yourself, they recognize that sensitivity. Each reaction gives them information, and information creates influence. Because the more someone understands your emotional patterns, the easier it becomes for them to predict your behavior. The brain is extremely sensitive to emotional triggers. When someone touches a topic connected to fear, insecurity, or past experiences, the brain reacts quickly. Logical thinking becomes weaker in those moments because emotional processing takes over. This is exactly why people who study weaknesses gain power in conversations. They know which topics change your emotional state. And once emotions take over, influencing decisions becomes much easier. The important thing to understand here is that not everyone who asks personal questions is trying to manipulate you. Healthy relationships also involve understanding each other. The key difference is intention and pattern. Someone who genuinely cares about you will not repeatedly use your vulnerabilities against you. But someone who studies weaknesses for influence often brings those topics back during moments of conflict or disagreement. That pattern is the real signal. Once you understand this dynamic, you begin noticing certain behaviors. You notice who asks questions mainly to understand you, and who asks questions but later uses that information during arguments. You notice who respects your emotional boundaries, and who repeatedly brings up sensitive topics when it benefits them. Awareness changes the entire dynamic, because when someone realizes you are aware of their strategy, their influence becomes weaker. Understanding human behavior does not mean becoming suspicious of everyone around you, but it does mean becoming more aware of how conversations shape influence. The more someone understands your emotional reactions, the more influence they can potentially have in certain situations. Awareness protects independence. It allows you to recognize when someone is genuinely supportive and when someone may be quietly studying your weaknesses for their own advantage. And once you see those patterns clearly, it becomes much easier to protect your decisions, your emotions, and your confidence. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more insights into dark psychology, manipulation, and human behavior. And I'd like to ask you something. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone seemed to know exactly what would trigger your reaction during an argument or discussion? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone else recognize the same pattern in their own life.